Mr. Foley, are you going to call a witness?
I'm sorry, no.
Are you calling a witness?
Yes, sir.
Is this your witness?
Yes, sir.
All right, if you could, Miss, I'm sorry, what's your name? All right, if you could go ahead and take the witness stand.
It's Aurora Cardona, Your Honor.
All right, thank you.
They left you to cross the huh? Yeah, I'm following with you. Where are you? They get lunch, you get cross-examination.
All right, we can bring them in.
All right, for the jury.
And Miss, if you'll please stand. All right, everyone, please be seated. Defense, call your next witness.
Call Aurora Cardona, Your Honor.
All right, could you raise your right hand for me? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God? All right, and if you could make sure you speak up, and are you comfortable lowering your mask so that we can hear you?
Do I need to pick it up?
Well, if both sides are not able to hear you and the jury is not able to hear you, then you're going to have to lower the mask.
Okay.
All right, so make sure you speak up, state your name and spell it, please.
It's Aurora Cardona. Oh, Aurora, and it's Cardona.
All right, and state, do you have any objections to the witness wearing a mask?
No.
All right, defense.
And Ms. Cardona, if you could just move as close as you can to the microphone because the mask kind of muffles. I think. And tell us, how are you? Are you related to Jessica Briones?
Yes, sir.
And how?
I'm her mother.
Okay. And so you were Olivia Briones's grandmother, correct?
Yes, sir.
And let me ask you, did you ever have occasion? Were there ever times that you visited with Olivia and Jessica together?
Yes, sir.
And where was that?
At the apartment.
At the apartment of 535 in Chisholm Trace?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And when did you start visiting with them there?
Oh, well, from the moment she was born.
Okay. And how often would you visit them?
On the weekends.
Did you live close by?
Yes.
Okay. And did you have a car?
No.
Do you have a car now?
No, sir.
Okay. At that time, did you take public transport? Did you take the bus?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Would you take the bus to visit with Jessica and Olivia?
I didn't have to. I just had to go across.
I'm sorry.
I didn't have to. It was just like a few blocks.
Oh, it was that close. Okay. And then let me ask you this. Do you have a cell phone?
No, sir.
Did you have a cell phone back then?
Back when that happened?
When Olivia was alive? Yeah. Back in 2017.
Oh, well, my sister got one after she passed away, after Olivia passed away.
Okay. But you didn't have a cell phone?
No, sir.
And then how would y'all contact each other? How would you know, or how would she know you were coming over?
I would just go over. I would go real early.
Oh, okay. And how long would you stay?
Maybe an hour, 2 hours, or an hour and a half.
All right. Did you ever babysit Olivia?
Well, just when we went to the dentist.
Okay. When was that? If you remember.
No, I don't.
That's okay. Do you know how old Olivia was at the time that you took her to the dentist?
I believe she was going on 4 or she was 4 already.
I'm sorry.
I believe she was either going on 4 or she was 4.
Okay. Either going on 4 or she was 4. Okay. And did Did you take her for a regular checkup or was it for some kind of emergency or why did you go?
No, I went, it was, Jessica needed to go see the dentist. She asked me if I could look after her while she was the dentist.
Oh, it was Jessica's dentist,
Yes, sir.
not Olivia. Okay, so Olivia, were you there at the dentist with both Jessica and Olivia?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I understand. And then did you see anything by the way of significance? Did anything happen while you were at the dentist?
Yes, I went and I took Olivia to the pediatrics area so she could have something to do while the dentist was seeing Jessica. And while I was watching her, she took off running to the next room where the nurse was at. And she ran into a countertop, I guess like this. She hit her head. And the nurse told her, "Oh, be careful, sweetie."
Was she bleeding or was it she just bonked her head?
Well, she hit her head because I heard when she hit her head, but no, I didn't see any blood.
Okay, did you think anything, like, did you think maybe she needed glasses?
Yes, that's what I thought. I said, I don't know if how she couldn't see the counter when she ran in, she was gonna run into it.
Okay, and did the nurses see that too?
Yes, the nurse said.
Okay. And then did you other times that you were visiting with Jessica and Olivia, did you ever see Olivia like just running around playing?
Yes, well, she would be playing around in the living room.
Was she an active child?
But I used to play with her when she was so little. I would I would go down like a cat. So that.
And I'm sorry, I'm having a little trouble understanding. Can you maybe tilt that mic down towards you? That one, yeah. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I would just crawl like a cat. I was trying to play, she would be laughing. She would start going to her mom.
Yeah, okay. Did she play with other kids?
No, not when I was there.
Oh, okay. You were there early mornings.
Yes.
On the weekends, right? Okay. And did you see her the weekend that this happened? Yeah, when I say this, we're talking about the weekend that she died or before
Yeah, I had seen her just recently. I had seen her recently or.
Okay. Do you remember when?
No, not exactly.
Okay.
No.
And just if the testimony has been that she died on Tuesday, that she went into the hospital, she went into the hospital, I guess, on Tuesday, so she died on Wednesday. Did you see her that weekend before that?
Yes, I had seen her before. I had seen her, yes.
You had seen her before, but I'm saying, did you see her that couple of days before this happened?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And did she appear to be okay then?
Yes, sir.
Did she have a bruise on the bridge of her nose?
Not that I can remember.
Did she have a black eye?
Not that I can remember.
Okay. And did you see do you remember if she was wearing like short sleeves or long sleeves or?
No, sir, I don't remember.
You don't remember? Okay. Did you see any bruising on either or both of her arms?
No, sir.
Okay. And when did you find out what was going on with Olivia?
When Jessica came over to get me to go to the hospital.
Do you remember what day that was?
No, sir, but they took us into a room and I'm sorry. I'm sorry. The doctor came in and she said, She had passed away. I said, no, you're wrong.
Do you need? Witness have a minute, Judge.
I'm sorry. I told myself I wasn't gonna cry.
Did the so they took you to a room when you got to the hospital
Yes, sir.
and Olivia was in there?
No, they took me and Jessica to a room and that's when the doctor came in and said, Jessica.
Right, can you slow down just a little bit and maybe take a couple deep breaths? Because the court reporter has to take down everything that you're saying and it's really hard for her to understand. And I know, I'm sorry. Good.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so slowly, if you can try and tell us what happened.
They took us into a room, and me and Jessica's neighbor, and the doctor came in and she said that Jessica had passed away.
That Olivia had passed away?
I mean, Olivia, I'm sorry, Olivia had passed away.
That was the first time you went to the hospital?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Had anybody contacted you? Had anybody called you? Well, I guess you didn't have a phone, or did you have a phone at home?
No, sir.
Okay. Did anybody come by? How did Jessica get hold of you?
Oh, she went by with her neighbor.
Went by your house?
Yes, sir.
Okay, or your apartment?
Yes, sir.
And did she did anybody else before that come and talk to you before you went to the hospital and they told you that Olivia had passed away?
No, sir.
Nobody from the hospital came?
No, sir.
Did anybody from Child Protective Services come and talk to you?
Well, there was a detective that came the day before. And they did tell me that that Olivia was in the hospital.
They told you that Olivia was in the hospital? Is that what
Yes,
you-
sir.
Okay. And did they tell you that she was on life support?
Not that I can remember, because I didn't know she was that sick. I told them, well, I'll go in the morning to go see her. They said, no, you can't go see her.
Okay. The detective told you you can't go
Yes,
see her.
it was a lady detective. It was a lady detective.
Okay. And did you ever tell anybody at the hospital or the detective or anybody else that you didn't want to be involved?
No, sir.
Okay. After the that day, after Olivia died, did the CPS worker come and talk to you?
There were some people that came over while I was with Jessica at her apartment because I was concerned about her.
Okay,
That's where I saw them.
but did you talk, did you talk to other people? Like if they came, did they come to your apartment or did they come to Jessica's?
Well, I was staying at her apartment.
You were staying at her apartment?
Yes, I believe I was. I know I had her stay with me about a week. I asked permission at my apartment if she could stay too.
After Olivia died?
Yes, sir.
I see. Okay, and did so were they coming to talk to you or were they coming to talk to Jessica?
It was to Jessica.
Okay, did anybody else ever talk to you after you went to the hospital and talked to and the doctors told you that Olivia had passed away?
Well, I don't believe so. I don't remember. I don't believe so.
Okay, Did the detectives talk to you again?
Well, they came and took us to interrogate us.
Okay, at Santa Rosa downtown?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and that you and Jessica both went with them, right?
Yes, sir.
And you both answered all their questions?
Yes, sir.
All right. Did anybody from the DA's office, any investigator from the DA's office come by and talk to you?
Well, it was the day before I found out about Olivia.
And that was the police, or was it a DA's investigator? Or do you know?
A detective.
A detective, okay. But I mean, after that detective and after Olivia died, I'm just trying to find out if anybody talked to you and you told them that you didn't want to be involved.
No, sir.
And in fact, you got pretty involved, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
You answered all their questions, right? You spent your whole day there, didn't you?
Yes, sir. Well, they put Jessica one room and they put me in another room.
Right.
And
Okay.
somebody else was interrogating Jessica and somebody else. The young man was interrogating.
Okay. During the time that the times that you would go and visit with Jessica and Olivia, did you ever see Jessica discipline Olivia? Did you ever see her punish her?
No, sir.
Okay. And did you ever see her spank her?
No, sir.
Did you ever see her lose her temper with Olivia, even if she didn't hit her or touch her or anything? Did you ever just see her get mad and lose her temper?
No, sir.
And you've known Jessica her entire life.
Yes.
Does she have a temper?
I've never seen her.
Have you ever seen her lose her temper?
Excuse me.
No, I've never seen her.
All right, so, excuse me. You're gonna have to make sure you speak up, but don't get too close to the mic because your mask is giving a lot of feedback, okay?
Okay.
All right,
Yes.
repeat your last question.
So did you ever see Jessica lose her temper at anyone for any reason,
No, sir. No, sir.
even when she was a child?
No,
She'd never throw tantrums.
no, sir.
What about Olivia? Did Olivia ever get like, did you ever see her and her mother like get cross with each other, like kind of, you know how kids and parents do?
No, sir.
Okay. Did you ever see Olivia just being stubborn and not doing what she was told?
No, I don't think I did that. No, sir.
Was she a pretty good girl?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you said you never saw Jessica discipline her. Did you ever see her put a hand on her?
No, sir.
Can I have just a second, Judge?
Yes.
Did you ever notice Olivia? Well, was Olivia a healthy eater? Did she eat? Like, or was she a fussy eater?
No, I think she ate pretty good.
She ate well. She ate.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And nevertheless, she was a small child. Was she a small child?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did that worry you?
Well, no, I know Jessica always had the same problem. She was always pretty thin since she was little.
Okay. Did Jessica ever mention to you that she thought Olivia was too little.
Yes, I did. She told me that she thought she was.
And did you tell her not to worry about it?
No, I didn't say anything.
Oh, okay. But when Jessica was little, she was the same way.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
The doctor got after me and said, she's, because she wasn't eating that much, she was underweight.
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
She was underweight.
Okay. And did Jessica look for like nutritional supplements, like powders and stuff to give her for that, to try to get her weight up?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I mean, did she buy those?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And do you know if that, I guess that didn't work, right?
Okay.
Okay.
State.
Hi, Ms. Cardona.
Hello.
Let me know if you can't hear me. Move the microphone a little closer because I can talk quiet. So I want to get a little, as far as the timeline straight. When did you and Jessica stop living together?
Excuse me. What is the sound from the microphone?
I think she's moving it.
I was too close to it.
That's okay, thank you.
Sorry.
All right, you can continue.
Your name was the name that was on the lease originally at the Chisholm apartment, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So when did Jessica start living there with you?
No, I wasn't staying in the apartment. I let her stay in the apartment.
Okay, but you lived there first, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so when did Jessica move into the apartment?
I don't remember what year it was.
Okay, but she moved in there when you were living there.
Yes, it was my apartment.
So there was a time period where you and Jessica were both living there.
Well, I hardly stayed there at that apartment.
Okay. And you were living with your son, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Why is it that you chose to stay with your son over Jessica?
Well, he said he didn't like it where he was at. He wanted, so he was feeling uncomfortable. So I told him I'd stay there with him and I go visit with Jessica.
If Jessica had said that she needed help and wanted you to stay with her, would you have stayed with her?
Yes, I did.
Yes, you would have.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. When did you learn that Jessica was pregnant with Olivia?
I don't remember.
Do you remember who told you?
Or it was probably her.
Okay. Do you remember if she was far along in the pregnancy?
No, she only ran away.
Okay. And how did you feel about that?
Well, I thought it was gonna be my first grandbaby.
So you were excited about it?
Yes, ma'am.
Would you be surprised to learn that she told Detective Juarez that you really weren't that crazy about the idea of Olivia at first?
I didn't know that.
Well, and what did she say?
Were you excited about Olivia?
Yes, she's my first grandbaby. I went and I bought her some bunnies. I mean, stuffed bunnies.
Did you ever tell Jessica that you were concerned about her having Olivia?
No, ma'am.
Were you there when Olivia was born at the hospital?
Well, I was there, but when it was time for her to deliver, I stepped out.
You were at the hospital.
Yes, ma'am.
Had you ever met Olivia's father?
No, ma'am.
Did you ever see a picture of him?
Yes, ma'am. I think I did.
Okay. Did you feel that Olivia looked like him?
Yes, I guess.
When did you start bringing Jessica and Olivia food?
I think almost right away.
Why did you feel the need to bring them food?
I just wanted to take the food.
Did you know that Jessica had stopped using the WIC program at some point?
Yes, she told me she had. Yes, ma'am.
Do you know how the WIC program works?
Well, no, I went with her a few times to help her with Olivia. But I never went to the back.
Well, it involves, you go once every,
Object to counsel testifying, Judge.
Sustained.
you knew that Jessica, when she was on the WIC program, would get a little card, right? That she
Yes.
took to the grocery store.
Yes, ma'am.
Did it make sense to you why she stopped getting that?
I don't remember what she told me.
Did it concern you that she stopped getting food for Olivia?
Well, no, I was taking her food, but, maybe that's why she stopped. I don't know.
What kind of food would you bring?
I try to take things that they liked. I know Olivia liked pizza, take her pizza and milk. I would get the milk there at the little store right there. And I know Olivia would go with me, so we always end up taking the gallon of milk because it's heavy.
Okay. So were you working?
No, ma'am.
Was your son working?
No, ma'am.
So who was paying for the groceries?
I know I was getting, what is it called, Social Security and, SSI.
Okay,
But the SSI I didn't get till I was 65.
okay. So is it safe to say that Jessica was relying on your disability to get groceries for Olivia?
I don't know.
Because Jessica never had a job while Olivia was alive, correct?
When she was working, when she was pregnant from Olivia at the IDEA school.
Okay, but she quit when Olivia was born.
Yes, I guess it is now.
If she had asked you to take care of Olivia so that she could go to work, would have been willing to do that?
Yes, I believe she asked me at one time.
But she never took you up on that. She chose to stay home and not work.
Yes, ma'am.
Judge, I object to the relevance.
All right, that'll be overruled.
So, and in fact, you never really took care of Olivia.
No, ma'am, just when she asked me to go with her to the flea market, garage sales and the wig and the dentist.
Did Jessica ever tell you why she didn't want you to watch Olivia?
No,
Did you ever ask to watch Olivia?
no, ma'am.
You're aware of the allegations in this case, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So what injuries do you remember observing on Olivia?
The one where she had on her forehead when she said she dropped the laptop when she bent over.
Okay. What about her teeth?
Oh, yeah, that's just, she told me when she fell in the bathtub.
Okay. Did Jessica tell you how she fell in the bathroom?
I don't remember.
Okay. Are you aware that Jessica, at least one point in her interviews, referred to Olivia as an impediment to her friends?
Object to counsel testifying, Judge.
That'll be sustained.
You said you would come over early in the day. What time would you come over?
I guess like 7 in the morning,
Okay, and you would stay for how long?
about an hour and a half.
Would Olivia be awake?
Yes, ma'am.
Was it normal for her to be awake around 7 o'clock?
Well, I guess she'll wake up when I would get there.
Okay. Were there ever times when you would go over and she would be sleeping the whole time and you wouldn't see her?
No, I don't remember. She would wake up.
She would always get up for you.
Yes, ma'am.
What about Jessica? Would she be awake when you get there?
Well, she had to open the door.
So you didn't have your own key to the apartment?
Oh, no, ma'am. Well, on the one room, the one bedroom I did, but on the second, the 2 bedroom, I don't remember.
Okay, right, because she moved at one point when they did the rehab. She moved from a 1 bedroom
Yes,
to
ma'am.
the 2 bedroom, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So you never had a key to the 2 bedroom?
I don't remember if I did.
Okay, but you do remember that Jessica would have to let you in?
Yes, ma'am.
The weekend before Olivia died, do you recall coming over and watching Olivia while Jessica was taking out a carpet?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Do you recall Jessica removing a carpet the weekend before Olivia passed away?
No, ma'am, I always saw the carpet there.
You don't remember Jessica getting rid of a carpet?
No, ma'am, I always saw the carpet there.
Would it surprise you that she told SAPD that you watched Olivia and maybe even helped her to discard a carpet? that
Object to
weekend?
counsel testifying, Judge.
It's not-
Right. That'll be overruled.
Does that surprise you?
You can answer the question.
Oh, well, I always saw the carpet there, like I said.
Okay. So you don't recall her throwing away a carpet?
No, ma'am.
Do you recall Jessica moving furniture that weekend?
No, ma'am, it all looked the same to me.
Do you remember the coffee table in the apartment?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you know how it was broken?
Well, it was an old coffee table that belonged to a friend. And she said she was saving the things for her friend. She was folding for her.
You said you only ever visited Olivia at Jessica's apartment.
Yes, ma'am.
So Jessica never brought Olivia over to your apartment with your son?
Yes, she did. She would come
Okay, how often would she come over?
over. I don't remember, but she would come over and bring Olivia.
Okay. So if you weren't working and Jessica wasn't working, why was it only on the weekends when you would come over?
I would go every day to the gym. I had to go to physical therapy like 3 different times with different problems. I had health issues. And they told me I had to continue the exercises at the gym so that I don't get problems. One of them was the sciatica. When I came to the courtroom here the first time, it was a different judge. I had to go straight to the ER from the court.
Okay, so it hurts you to move too much. Is that? what
Well, I have to continue what they told me to do at the physical therapist.
Okay, and so you were busy Monday through Friday?
Yes, I was trying to continue to do the exercises I was told to do.
Okay. Where was this place you said where you were watching, where you went with Jessica so she could get dental work? Where was that?
It's Lucky something. I don't remember the name of the street. It's on Hebner, and I think the other street is Lucky Film.
was it an office building or I'm trying to get a better picture of what kind of facility would have the dental office and a pediatric?
Well, I guess the pediatric was for the children's side, for the dental, and then the adult side was, that's where I was with Jessica, but one day they took her back to the doctor. I went to so she could have something to play with.
And Olivia, she hit her forehead, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, on direct examination, you said that Jessica never had any temper tantrums or issues as a child?
No, ma'am. She never did.
Okay, are you aware that, well, let me ask it this way. So you never stuck her in the closet for hours as a child?
No, ma'am.
Do you know why she would have any reason to tell police that you would do that?
No, ma'am.
Did you ever tell Jessica to, and I pardon what I'm about to say, but to go to hell when she was a child?
I don't remember saying that.
Is that something you would have said?
I don't remember saying that.
When you saw Olivia run into that table when you went for the dental appointment, did she require any kind of medical assistance, any stitches, anything like that?
I don't know if Jessica took her to after that.
Okay. So kids can get bumps on their heads occasionally, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you ever see those bumps on Olivia?
Well, like I said, like the one where she had the laptop.
Okay, so the laptop, but you didn't see any other cuts or?
Well, when he said she fell on the bathtub.
On the bathtub?
Yes, ma'am.
What about, the bike? She fell on a bike at some point, right?
In the back? I don't know.
So you're not aware if Olivia ever fell on a bike?
Not that I can remember. Maybe she told me, I don't remember.
Okay. But did you gift a bike to Olivia?
No, ma'am, I don't. Well, I think my son got her some of the toys.
Okay. Did your son give Olivia a bike?
I believe so.
Okay. So if Jessica had said that you had given Olivia a bike, she would have been mistaken?
Well, if probably because I took it, but it was my son that would get her toys.
Okay, but you don't ever remember an incident where Olivia fell on that bike and required stitches?
No, ma'am, I don't remember.
Right, and you didn't actually, other than the incident with the dentist, you never actually saw any of the incidents with the laptop or the teeth, correct?
No, I never saw it. No.
Okay, so everything you know about that, you learned from Jessica.
Yes, ma'am.
And is it safe to say that pretty much everything you know about this case, you learned from Jessica?
Yes, ma'am.
Now you mentioned, a woman detective, Sergeant Barnes, came to speak with you, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And it was while Olivia was in the hospital, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And she came to your apartment with your son.
No, with the neighbor. Her name, Jessica's neighbor.
Okay, so but you recall she went to the apartment and spoke to you.
Well, when the Detective Barnes came over, it was just her that came. She came at 10 o'clock at night.
Okay. And and you agree that it's important to give police, especially when your granddaughter's in the hospital and you're trying to figure out what's going on and and how you can be, helpful, you agree that it's important to give her accurate information.
Yes, ma'am.
And you would agree with me that given the fact that you made that statement while Olivia was still in the hospital 5 years ago, that it was probably more accurate then than it would be, than your memory would be today.
Maybe what statement, Judge? If she's trying to impeach with a prior inconsistent statement, I don't know what,
Is there an objection?
yeah, it's improper impeachment.
Sustained.
And when you met with Detective Barnes, you would have given her correct information, correct?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
You would have given police accurate information.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Okay. So on direct, when you stated that you did not observe any bruising on Olivia's face, is that how you remember it? Is that why you said that today?
You mean that day that she hit herself in the head when I was at the dentist?
No, you said that the weekend, you saw Olivia the weekend before she died,
Yes,
correct?
ma'am.
And that when you saw her, you did not remember seeing any bruising to her face.
Yes, I don't remember seeing.
Okay, but that's not what you told Detective Barnes, is it?
They said the day that she,
The day that Detective Barnes spoke to you at that apartment, you indicated that there was bruising on Olivia's face, correct?
Yes, I guess it was.
So do you remember what bruising it was that you saw?
Probably on the head or her face, I don't remember.
So she did have bruising on her face,
Yes, ma'am.
and you remember seeing that bruising.
Yes, ma'am.
You also told Detective Barnes that day that Olivia had been sick that weekend too, right?
She probably was, I don't remember.
That you thought maybe she was sick to the stomach, maybe vomiting.
I don't remember her being sick, seeing her sick.
Okay, but Jessica had told you that,
Yes,
correct?
ma'am.
So the weekend before Olivia died, Jessica told you that Olivia had been acting sick and vomiting.
Yes, ma'am.
So when she told detectives that Olivia was good, that she had been good, had a good weekend, that wasn't true, was it?
I don't know.
Defense.
Just a couple more questions, Ms. Cardona. Did Jessica ask you after she moved into the 2-bedroom or after they moved into the 2-bedroom? Did she ask you to come stay with her and Olivia?
I stayed there one night only.
Just one night? Okay. But did she ask you to stay longer to like move in?
I don't remember.
You don't remember that? Okay, that's fine. Did you ever tell Jessica after she had the baby that she should not go back to work?
No, sir.
Okay. And let me ask you about, do you have a family history of osteoarthritis?
Osteoporosis.
Object to relevance, Charlotte.
That'll be overruled.
Sorry, you can answer. Go ahead.
It was osteoporosis.
Okay. And when you were talking about the pediatric area that you took Olivia to while Jessica was at the dentist, you were talking about the pediatric dentist, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so it wasn't a pediatrician.
No, sir.
Okay, got it. And then you also said that you didn't see scars on Olivia's head other than the one on her, was it one or two on her forehead?
I don't remember how many.
Okay, but you didn't see any on the top of her head. Did Olivia have a lot of hair?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you're not saying there weren't scars there?
I couldn't see it.
Okay. And when Jessica told you that Olivia had been sick, she told you on the weekend, right?
Yes, sir.
But she was talking about the past. She was talking about the week before, right?
When she was sick?
Yeah. She didn't say she's sick right now.
No.
She said she was sick, but she told you that on the weekend, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, and do you remember what day you went over there on that weekend?
It was Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I don't remember.
It could have been either one.
Yes, sir.
Okay. But either way, Jessica didn't say Olivia is sick right now or sick today, right?
Yes, sir.
Did she say she was sick yesterday? Sorry.
No, sir.
Okay. Did she say she was sick that last week?
You mean the weekend, the day that she died? On the week,
No, not the day that she died. On the weekend when you came to visit.
that weekend that before she passed away?
Uh-huh.
No, it was the day when she took her to the police station.
She was sick then.
Well, yes, it was right around that time.
Okay. But what I'm you told the state, and maybe I misunderstood, that Jessica told you on the weekend that Olivia had been sick. Is that what you said?
Well, that she was sick when she took her, right before she took her to the police station.
Okay. Did you ever tell anyone that Jessica told you that she had been sick that last weekend before she died?
No, sir. No, sir.
You never told anyone that?
No, sir.
Pass the witness.
Okay, I want to clarify. When Detective Barnes, well then Detective Barnes, now Sergeant Barnes, when she spoke to you and Olivia was still in the hospital, you didn't know that Olivia was in the hospital before she came over, right?
No, no, ma'am.
So you had not spoken to Jessica.
No, ma'am.
So you didn't know that Jessica was saying that Olivia was vomiting that day.
Well, it was before the weekend that I went to go visit her. That's what
Okay,
she told me.
and that's what I want to clarify, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So, that Tuesday, you met with Detective Barnes late that night, and that's when you learned that Olivia was in the hospital,
Yes, ma'am.
right?
Yes, ma'am.
And when Detective Barnes was asking you about how Olivia was, you were talking about when you had seen her that Saturday before.
Yes, ma'am.
And so it was that Saturday before that Olivia was sick.
Yes, ma'am. Well, it was when she took her she told me she had taken her to the police station.
Okay, but you hadn't spoken. You didn't know Olivia was in the hospital when you spoke to Detective Barnes, correct?
She told me that after, when I saw her that next day.
Okay, I'm talking about what you told Detective Barnes that day. Do you understand my question?
That she was sick?
So you learned about Olivia's hospitalization from Detective Barnes, is
Yes.
that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
You had not talked to Jessica yet, correct?
No, I hadn't. No.
Okay. So you did not know at the time you spoke to Detective Barnes that Jessica had brought Olivia to the police station because she was vomiting. You didn't know that yet.
No.
Okay. So when you spoke to Detective Barnes and you said that Jessica had said Olivia was acting sick, you were referring to the few days before when you saw them on the weekend.
Yes, I guess that's,
Is that correct?
I guess that.
Okay, I want you to just be truthful. Is that what happened?
I don't know if I can remember, but yeah, I guess.
I'll pass the witness.
So, and I see what they're saying. So you couldn't have known when you talked to Detective Barnes that Olivia was sick that day, right? Because you hadn't talked to Jessica yet, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. But Jessica had told you the last time you did talk to her that Olivia had been sick, right?
Yes, sir.
Right, and that was before she took her to the hospital, before she took her, you talked to Jessica before all that, right?
Yes, sir.
In fact, you talked to Jessica that weekend when you went to visit, right?
Yes, sir.
But when Jessica told you that, did she say anything about she's sick right now? Or did she say she was sick a couple days ago or last week or something like that?
I don't know.
Okay, I pass the witness. Judge.
No further.
I'm sorry, Can I unpass for a second?
Yes.
No, that's it. I pass.
No further questions.
All right, is this witness excused or subject to recall?
Excuse from this.
Excuse.
All right, the rule has been invoked. That means you can't discuss your testimony with anyone. The only persons you're allowed to speak to are attorneys for the state or the defense. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. Defense, call your next witness. Yes,
Can we approach, Judge?
yes. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a brief recess. And I'm going to have you all come back at 2:45. Remember my instructions. Keep your badges visible. You all should know this by heart now. Keep your badges visible. If you see anything or hear anything, disregard it, move away. Don't start to deliberate or think in your head. There's to be no research in this case. Everything that you need to know about this case will come from inside the courtroom. All right, everyone, please rise for the jurors.
It just occurred to me, I don't know if the court has said anything in front of the jury about the rule, but
Jury?
All right, everyone, please be seated.
Norman, we're supposed.
Yes. All right, defense, call your next witness.
Call Jessica Briones, Your Honor.
If you'll take the stand, please. Can you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right, have a seat. If you can state your name and spell it for the record.
My name is Jessica Briones, Jessica Briones.
All right, defense.
Thank you, Your Honor. And Ms. Briones, you're the defendant in this case, correct?
Yes, I am.
Okay, and please, yeah, hold the chair as close as you can to the microphone, just so the jury can be sure to hear. And you, well, there's a couple things I'd like to cover with you about the day that Olivia died. First off, you went to you carried Olivia after you, well, let's start at the beginning.
That'll be sustained.
Thank you, Judge. When you woke up that morning, September 5th of 2017, what happened?
Well, the very first thing that I can remember now was waking up, going to check in on Olivia in her room, and she still appeared to be asleep. So I went about doing a couple of chores around the household. After a little while, I noticed she still wasn't awake, so I wanted to go get the money order, and
Let me slow you down. The money order, was that for your rent?
Yes, it was.
Okay, and why did you want to do that then?
I wanted to turn it into the office before we were to get any late fees.
Okay. What was the deadline before you would get any late fees?
I believe it was that day.
Okay, the 5th,
Yes.
all right. And so then what happened?
I believe it was around 10:30. I decided to go ahead and go to the Valero.
Okay, and when you left your apartment, there are stairs sort of either direction you turn, is that right?
Yes, on both sides of the building.
Okay, so which set of stairs is closer to the Valero? Would you turn left or would you go right out of your front door?
Those would be the stairs on the outside of the building by the parking lot.
Okay, and to get to those, when you come out of your apartment, would you turn left or turn right?
I would be to the left.
And then,
And I'm sorry, just one second. If you could come back just a little bit from the microphone because we're getting extra feedback. All right, thank you.
and when you excuse me, can I confer for just a second?
Yes.
It should be over there.
That's all.
You're special.
And I'm showing you what's been entered into evidence as defendant's exhibit 10. Do you recognize that?
Yes, those are the stairs on the inside of the building.
Okay, so this is the stairs to your apartment, correct?
Yes,
Okay, now there's another set of stairs in defendant's exhibit 10 that's sort of further back, right?
yes.
Okay, and is that set of stairs, which set of stairs did you take when you went to the Valero?
To go to the Valero, it was the stairs on the opposite side.
So not the ones that are showing on defendant's 10, but the opposite side.
Right. I usually went down those stairs, but to get to the Valero, I went the other way.
Can you say that again?
We would usually come down this set of stairs on the inside, but to get to the Valero, I went the other way.
Okay, and would that be? Defendant's exhibit 12.
And yes, those appear to be the stairs by the parking lot.
Okay. And then, where did you go from there, from the stairs? Like, once you got to the parking lot, where'd you go?
I crossed by the parking lot and there was a line of bushes, like a break between the bushes to the building next door, which was a Magnolia Pancake House, I believe. And then I cut through the parking lot, crossed a small street there to the Valero, which was right across the other side of the street.
Okay, when you say right across the other side of the street, so you go through the Magnolia Pancake House?
Yes, through the parking lot.
Is that a whole city block?
I'm not sure.
Okay, is it a big parking lot?
It is, it has the restaurant itself and then an event hall next door.
Okay, and Joni Fairclough testified that to make that walk from the Valero from your apartment to the Valero is about a 3 to 5 minute walk. Would you agree with that?
Judge, I'm gonna object to defense leading his own witness and defense testifying.
That'll be sustained.
Did, how far would you say, how long would you say that it takes to walk from your apartment, including, going down the stairs, go into the Bolero, by the shortest possible route? And then if you just touched the door of the Bolero and then turned around and came straight back.
Probably 3 to 4 minutes.
Okay, that's one way,
Yes, one way.
and then 3 or 4 minutes coming back.
So maybe 6 to 8 minutes total.
Okay, and then, so you went to the Bolero, and what happened there? Well, we saw the video, right?
Yes, I went to go look and see if they had any tacos available first because I wanted to bring her some tacos, and when they didn't, I went and I found some bananas for us, and I I went to the register to request money order, and they processed it. It took a few minutes, but and then I walked back the same way to our apartment.
Okay, and when you say the same way, is there a shortcut?
The way through the bushes, the break in the bushes by the property line.
Okay, so did you take that shortcut, or did you take the long way around and go on the?
I went through the shortcut both ways. It was
Okay,
the fastest.
and is that what you were talking about when you described 3 to 4 minutes? Okay,
Yes.
and then what happened when you came back to the apartment?
I think the first thing I did was I went back to check and see if Olivia was awake yet, and she still seemed to be asleep. So I went to went to go do some chores. I think I was cleaning up in the back in the bedroom, and then I went to go wash dishes.
Okay, and let me back up for a second. Before you went to the Bolero, did you hear Olivia vomiting or making any noises at all?
No, I didn't. She seemed to be just completely asleep.
Did you check in on her? Like, did you open the door and look in on her?
The door was open. I left it open the whole night. I never closed it.
Okay, so did you, when you went to the Bolero, did you close that door?
No, I did not.
Okay, and then now let's go back to, you said you went and did some chores, and Olivia was still asleep.
Yes, she was still laying down in her room.
Okay, and did you look in on her again, or did you didn't hear anything? How do you know that she was still asleep?
She was laying down on her back. Her eyes were closed.
So you went and looked at her.
Yes,
Okay, was there any vomit or anything at that time?
no,
Okay, and this is after you're back from the Bolero.
yes.
Did you go pay the rent?
Oh, yes, I forgot to mention that I did drop off the money order on the way back before I came up to the apartment.
Does that? Is the off, did you pay it at the office?
Yes, I had to.
Is there like a drop box there, or how did you pay it?
You can go into the office, or there's also a drop slot. I don't recall that morning if I went inside or just dropped it off in the slot.
Okay, and did you, is the office, if you take that shortcut and when you're coming back from the Bolero, is the office between the Bolero and your apartment?
No, it's past our building.
It's what?
It's past our building on the other side.
Okay, so you have to go around to that? Okay,
Yes.
and so, when you went back into your apartment, were you coming from the other way?
I don't recall, but I probably did.
Okay. And then what happened next after you started doing chores?
When I was washing dishes, I heard her coughing, I heard Olivia coughing in her room, and I went to go check on her, and she was coughing, and a little bit of vomit started to come up. I went back to the kitchen to grab a bowl. I asked her if she was feeling sick, and I was rubbing her back. I turned her on her side and I put the bowl underneath her so that she could throw up into the bowl. And when she finished throwing up, I tried to clean her off a little bit with a washcloth, and I think I took off her shirt because she'd gotten some vomit on it, and I said that I think that's when I noticed the bruise on her nose, and decided that I should take her to get checked somewhere. So
Let me slow you down for a second. You asked her if she was feeling sick?
when she started throwing up, yes,
Did she respond to that?
she was just coughing and she had her eyes closed.
Okay. Was she conscious?
I couldn't tell. She had her eyes closed, but I was holding her up, and I wasn't holding up her full weight, so she felt like she was sitting up a little bit, but she didn't open her eyes and she didn't say anything.
Okay. And then, so you tried to clean her up a little bit, and that's when you saw the bruise. So did you take the shirt off before you saw her bruise?
I believe it was after I noticed her, while I was taking off her shirt, I noticed the bruise.
Okay. And then, by the way, what did you do with that shirt?
I put it into a bag along with her stuffed animals in case if it was something she had eaten that made her sick, so that if the doctors needed to check, they could see what she had vomited.
Okay. Was there any reason to think that it was something she had eaten?
I mean, it had happened before, so I just in case, I wanted to help the doctors try to figure out what was making her sick.
Okay. And what did you do next?
I threw a bunch of things into a bag. I think I grabbed some shoes for her and socks and put on my own shoes, and I went outside. I started going down the stairs, and about halfway across the parking lot, she started feeling heavier, and I noticed her breathing getting ragged, and that's when I looked at her eyes, and I saw that she looked like she wasn't fully conscious, and I didn't know what to do. I started panicking, and I didn't have my phone with me. I saw a car pulling out of the driveway of the apartments, and a black car, and I didn't know if to just flag them down and ask. I didn't know what to ask for help, ask them. And then I remembered the police station behind the apartments, because I grew up in those apartments, and I had always felt safe because I knew that police station was there. And when I was a kid, they had always taught us, if you're ever scared, you can go to the police for help.
Okay. And there are some businesses, are there some businesses between you and the police station, between your apartment and the police station? Did you, why didn't you stop at any of those businesses to,
I was scared. I wanted someone to help her right away. And I saw the police. And they said, whenever you're scared, you call the police for help. And I was scared. I didn't know what to do. I was just panicking. We used to wait at that police station at the bus stop and for all the time. So I felt comfortable going there, and it didn't seem that far. I didn't want to wait for help. I didn't want to wait for an ambulance. I just wanted to get there to someone that could help her right away.
okay. And then after you got to the police station, did you turn Olivia over to them?
Yes,
Did someone do CPR?
I can't really remember it. Like, as soon as I got in the door and they took her, I don't really remember that much. I just remember one of the officers calling out her name to see if she would respond, and she kind of took a rattled breath when she did, and she said that was very good. And I think they were asking me some questions, and then an ambulance came shortly. I don't know how long after. I don't remember if sirens were on or anything. I couldn't remember if I heard anything.
Okay. Did and then were you transported to the hospital by the police?
Yes,
And she was in the ambulance?
yes.
Did they tell you could not ride with her in the ambulance, or did you just, what happened?
They just said that they would take me in.
Okay. And did well, let me ask, was that the last time that you saw Olivia?
No, they when they got me to the hospital. When they got me to the hospital, they were putting her on a stretcher, and they said they were gonna take care of her. They started asking me a few questions. And I had to talk to a few people, and then they said they were gonna ask me some questions, and I think I was there for a little while, but they had taken her back already.
Okay. Did you ever tell any of the doctors that you had heard Olivia throwing up and that you did not go check on her?
I don't remember saying that, no, because I did check on her.
Did you check on her as soon as you heard her throwing up?
Yes,
Okay. Did you ever tell any of the police or anyone that, or CPS or anybody else, that you heard Olivia throwing up and you didn't go check on her?
no, I don't remember saying that to anybody.
Is that something that you would do?
Of course not.
Okay. Did you, let me ask you this. Did you, well, what was your, and you talked about a lot of this stuff to the police, but now you're under oath and you understand that difference, right?
Yeah.
Did you ever, how did you discipline Olivia?
Well, from what I can remember, timeout was the recent thing that I tried with her, and it seemed to be working the best. I mean, she would usually go into her room, into her bedroom and just sit there for a few minutes, and I'd come in after a while and I'd check on her and I'd say, you know, I'd explain to her that whatever happened, I wasn't mad at her, just, you know, so she would understand. And I mean, before that, I had tried a couple of things. I used to try yelling or talking while yelling over her while she was crying when she was smaller, so that I could keep asking her whatever it was that I was asking her to do, but that quickly proved to not work because she could cry longer than I could, you know, talk loud. Some of the things that I mentioned in the interviews about taking away her stuffed animals and putting them in timeout, just as, but that she didn't seem to like that as much, so I didn't want to actually throw away any of her stuffed animals that she loved, and I did try, well, I spanked her that one time, but then not again, and then I did try pinching her ears a few times, just because it's something I had seen playfully done on TV,
But were you doing it playfully or were you doing it for discipline?
well, for discipline mostly, just to try to get her to stop crying, but it didn't actually make her stop. And then I tried it on myself one time and it was uncomfortable, so I decided not to do it on her anymore. And it
Okay.
wasn't effective either.
And did that, when you were doing, did it cause her to scratch her ears?
Not immediately. I noticed after a couple of times I had done it, I would leave her, when I left her sitting in the chair by herself, she'd be picking at her ears and sometimes she'd end up scratching them. And so that's another reason that I stopped. I didn't know if it was an anxious habit or something that she was starting to form as a result of that. And I didn't want her to have any kind of issues like that.
Okay. Did you pull on her ears?
No,
Okay. And when you say pinch, did you pinch down here or up at the top or how?
up at the top.
Okay. Did you ever get frustrated with her?
I wouldn't get frustrated. At the most, I would say I get exasperated when she was frustrated, and it was something I couldn't understand what was bothering her. So those are the times when I would put her in timeout in the bathroom, and she might be a little less hesitant to go in there. So I would close the door on her, and I knew she didn't like that, but just to try to calm her down a little bit and just give her some space where she could hopefully calm down.
I think you mentioned to Detective Barnes, did you mention that you accidentally left the light on, left the light off in there one time?
I think I did. The light switch and the fan switch were right next to each other, and that might have been one of the times when she was trying to come out as I was putting her in. So I just stuck my arm through the crack of the door and switched it off and then closed it.
Was she afraid of the dark?
I mean, I think she probably didn't like it. What she mostly didn't like was having the door closed, but I didn't want to leave her in the dark either.
Okay. Did you ever, besides that one time that you spanked her, did you ever hit her?
No,
Did you ever hit her with anything?
no, definitely not.
Did you ever hit her with any kind of weapon?
No, God, no, of course not.
Okay. And did you ever hit her with states 42?
The bar, of course not. I mean,
Why do you even have that?
it was in a moving box, and kind of to form a little closet when we moved from the 1 bedroom to the 2 bedroom. And I thought it would be a good idea, cute idea to make a little closet for her when she got older. But the box that it came in was destroyed, so I was just keeping it in the back in my bedroom to try to make it later, because the closet in her room was very small and I had a lot of clothes for her.
Okay. And where did you store it? Where did you keep it?
I had it in the back in the bedroom. At some point, I think it was in the closet, but I think I don't remember if I pulled it out to try to, I was thinking getting rid of it. I know I tripped on it coming out of the closet one time and I had forgotten it was there. But guessing at some point it fell behind the dresser. And when I moved it, that's when it was pulled out,
When you moved what?
the dresser.
Why did you move the dresser?
That was after the washing machine incident, where I think I mentioned in the interview, I had put some things to wash, but I forgot to put the outlet hose into the sink and I heard the water pouring all over the floor. And when I went to get it, I dropped the hose onto the carpet and it soaked through to the padding. So I had to move it aside to try to pull up the carpet and let it dry.
Okay. Did you say pull up the carpet?
Yes, it soaked through to the padding and I didn't want to cause damage to the carpet mold, you know?
Okay. And did you say that's when you think it got taken out of the closet or from behind the dresser? You moved the dresser to pull up the carpet?
Again, I'm gonna object to leaving his own witness.
Sustained.
Did you move the
The dresser.
to pull up the carpet?
Yes, I used to have the dresser against that wall in the bathroom in the closet, so to get the carpet up, I had to move it aside.
Okay. Did you ever hit Olivia with any object other than the time that you hit her hand? I think, did you say you hit her hand with a spoon?
It was like a silicone spoon, I think.
Okay. And that, was she reaching for the stove at that point?
I thought she was just gonna try to show me something, but out of instinct, I thought she was reaching for the stove and I didn't want her to end up burning herself, so I just swatted automatically and
Okay. Were there other times that you hit her with any object for her own good?
no.
Did you and you told the police about the laptop? Is this states 23? Is that the laptop you were talking about?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and show us what you were talking about.
Excuse me, defense, is that states exhibit?
Defense 23. Did I say states? I'm sorry.
Yes, no problem.
Well, I don't have the case that was with it, but the case that it was in was underneath my hand like this, and I was holding the case with my hand curled around like this. So, yeah, this is the bottom,
Okay.
and it was facing this way I didn't close it all the way because I was thinking it was like a regular notebook where if you close it, it takes a while to start up again.
Oh, if you closed it, you mean?
It would go to sleep and then, yeah, I just wanted to go in and kiss her goodnight and then come back and finish working on it.
Okay. And why was it turned that direction?
So that if I'd had it open like this, I figured it would flip over like that. So I turned it this way. So I thought I had a better grip on the bottom, but the case was underneath, so it was on top of the case.
And Judge, can I confer with the court reporter for a minute?
Yes.
Thank you. I'm showing you what's been marked as defendant's exhibit 14. Is that the case?
Yes, that's it.
Okay, and on that video, the CSI video, there's that case that's sitting, that Detective Barnes testified had some papers in it. Is that this case?
Yes, that's the same one.
Did it have papers in it or did it have the laptop in it?
I don't recall at the time.
Okay. In any event, was the laptop somewhere in that apartment on the 5th of September of 2017?
Yes, it had to have been, it was still there when I came back.
Okay. Your Honor, I move for admission of defendants 14.
No objection.
All right, defense exhibit number 14 is admitted without objection.
Thank you. And so then what happened when it fell?
I bent over to kiss her goodnight and the light shone in her face first and she squinted and I was gonna apologize, you know, for the light in her face, but before I could even say anything, it slid over the case and fell. I didn't see where it hit her or how it hit her, but I know she started crying immediately and it fell on the other side of the bed. And then I saw, I thought it was hair growing across her face at first because it was late. I was a little bit tired and I wasn't fully aware of what was going on, but I tried to snap myself out of it after a second or two and realized I mean, she was crying, but it might have been blood. And I went back to the restroom to just get a whole bunch of tissue in case she was bleeding. And I came back and I turned on the light and it was a lot of blood. She was bleeding from her forehead and I just put the tissue on her forehead and held it as firmly as I could, just hoping that it would stop bleeding. And I didn't want to move. I don't handle blood very well. So I was afraid that if I looked at it, I might pass out. So I just stayed still like that the entire night. And thankfully it stopped bleeding right away.
Stayed still like what?
Applying pressure with the
Okay.
tissue on her forehead.
And Your Honor, I ask permission to publish states 23 to the jury.
Granted. I'm sorry, is it states 23 or defense?
23, sorry,
Yes.
Judge.
That's granted.
And do you know where the injuries came from that killed Olivia?
That I don't know. I've gone through my mind so many times trying to figure out. But I mean, she never had anything like that before. And I couldn't imagine what could have caused that kind of injury to her.
Okay. Do you know where the mark came from that was on her abdomen? There was a bruise on her abdomen.
That one, I wasn't sure either. She, like I said, she never really got bruises or anything on her abdomen, on her knees and her elbows, and occasionally on her face or her head if she ever bumped there, but not on her body. She was, I mean, it's not a normal place for her to have bruises.
Okay. And do you know where the marks, the scars rather, on the top of her head came from?
I know, I mean, at the time when the incidents would happen, I knew, I mean, most of them were from, like I said, I know some of them that I had mentioned, the plate that I had dropped and I think a cup, and I think the largest one was from a glass container that I had on the shelf that she reached for that fell on top. And A couple of them were just from she would fall, and I thought it was kind of odd that the skin would tear if she fell back and bumped her head on the wall, but it happened a couple of times, so I thought maybe the skin or the scalp, the skin on top of the head was just thinner.
Okay. And did you tell Detective Barnes all the injuries that you could remember on the top of her head?
Yes, as many as I could remember.
Okay. Did you cause any of those intentionally? And when I say intentionally, I'm sure you didn't mean to cut her, but did you ever hit her with anything? Hit her with your hand? Hit her against anything that caused any of those injuries?
No,
Did anyone contact you and tell you they were about to take Olivia off of life support?
I was waiting at the hospital. I had been waiting for a CPS caseworker to contact me. At one point, a doctor came out. He told me I was going to have to make a difficult decision. And I didn't want them to take her off life support without my mom at least being there. And, since they weren't letting me see her.
Did they tell you they were going to let you see her?
I mean, if I could have contacted, they said with the CPS caseworker, they would let me see her, but I was waiting at the hospital and nobody had come to talk to me. I stayed there all night.
Okay. Did you have your phone?
No, the police, I didn't have it with me, and I didn't have my key for my apartment. The police had kept the bag that I took when I took her to the police station.
When you left the apartment with Olivia, did you have your key?
I did have my key, yes.
And where did it go?
The police at the substation kept what I had with me as evidence, they said.
Oh, okay. And so you didn't want them to take her off life support without your mom. Did you tell them it was okay to take her off life support?
No,
Did you, what did you do next?
I didn't have any money for the bus or a bus pass. I didn't have my phone, and my mom didn't have a phone anyway, so I wanted to try to find her. I spoke to a caseworker at the hospital, and she said she would try to get me some bus fare and a sandwich, so I was able to get the bus to go back to the property. I went by the office to ask the manager if she could let me into the apartment so I could get my phone to see if I had gotten a call from the CPS caseworker, but she said that the police had taken the key from the property and she had to wait for them to bring it back. So I went to go wait with a neighbor who was going to help me look for my mom until the police came back with the key. And then I went up to the apartment, but the place had been trashed and a bunch of random things were missing, including all of the phones. So it was pointless going there. It was pointless waiting there for them to bring that key back. We went. So I went with the neighbor, Judy, to go find. She knew that she was familiar with the property where my mom was living, and we went there. And that's when I talked to my mom and I told her that Olivia was on life support, and what they had told me that I was gonna have to make a difficult decision. my mom started crying and, you know, so then we went to the hospital on the bus.
And what happened when you got to the hospital?
The nurses came out and she told me they had been looking for me. And she had passed. They took her off life support while I was gone.
Did you, while Olivia was alive, did y'all? Did you try to, I guess, isolate her from other people?
No, not at all. I mean,
I'm sorry.
not at all. People loved her and I loved her. I wanted everybody to see how adorable she was. The people that would meet her, she would charm them instantly. So, I mean, anybody that loved her, that liked her, I wanted them to be around her more.
You wanted what?
I wanted them around her more and I liked just taking her outside and even if it was just to look at the trees, at the leaves and
Did you take her to visit with neighbors at the apartment?
yes.
Which,
Judy was one of the neighbors in the building when we were in the 1-bedroom apartment. She was an elderly lady. There was another neighbor named Helen. She was also a senior who lived there for a while, but then eventually she ended up moving into a nursing home. There was a senior lady also who was from Mexico named Maria, but she only spoke Spanish, but we would go there sometimes and just, you know, we would talk and she would watch TV while we were talking.
do you speak Spanish?
A little bit, yes.
And did Olivia?
I was trying to teach her a little bit.
Kind of a second, Judge.
Yes.
And were there pictures of Olivia on your phone?
Yes,
And the police, did the police take your phone?
yes,
Did you ask for it back?
yes, multiple times.
Okay, was that because you needed the phone or why did you ask for it back?
I just wanted the pictures and the videos of her to show people, my mom, to share with family, to share with everyone who loved her.
Sorry, 1 second. And then, did you have a lot of pictures of her on your phone?
I think I did. I don't remember exactly how many.
Approach court reporter, Judge.
Yes.
Judge, I believe that the state is willing to stipulate to the authenticity of the cell phone extraction.
Yeah, we don't have a problem with the extraction.
And I would offer it as defense exhibit 25.
Any objection?
What,
He's offering defense exhibit number 25.
is that the full extraction?
Extract.
That's fine.
Any objection?
No objection as long as the full extraction's on there.
Defense is the full extraction on
It
that.
is, Judge.
All right, defense exhibit number 25 is admitted without objection.
And if I could have just a second here, Judge. And sorry, Judge, I'm trying to get this open. Sorry, Judge. Jessica, this is the cell phone extraction where they extracted the data from your cell phone, and it's almost 3,000 pages. But there are, you can see these thumbnail pictures over here. Do these appear to be some of the pictures that were on your phone?
Yes, they look familiar.
I'm sorry.
Yes, they look familiar.
And I think they're in order by date, although I'm not sure of that. So I'm going to kind of skip down here and just pick some at random. And what is that a picture of? Um, are there a lot of pictures of Olivia on this phone?
Yes, most likely. I took a lot of pictures of her.
Are most of the pictures on this phone of either you and Olivia or Olivia by herself or you and Olivia and the cats?
Yes, that's pretty much all I took pictures of.
Okay, and when I say you and Olivia and the cats, I'm talking about the feral cats, is that right? Okay. Were there feral cats that lived outside your apartment?
Yes, there were some kittens that a neighbor downstairs on the second floor had been caring for, but they had to move out at one point and they left the basket of kittens by my door because they knew I would take care of them.
Is that Sorry. Trying to open this. Is that a picture of Olivia?
No, I believe that might be one of my friend's babies,
Okay,
or it's another baby, it's not Lydia.
okay. Is that a picture of Olivia?
Yes, that's her.
Again, the jury will have this whole extraction back there, but would you say there are hundreds of pictures of Olivia on this phone?
There might be, yes.
Um, the detective and or the detectives. Oh, I'm sorry. Did the detectives that you talked to tell you that Olivia had a broken arm?
Yes, they did at one point.
Okay, and did you ever learn that that was not necessarily the case?
No, I was never given any other information.
Okay. All right. I guess the most important thing I want to ask you is, once again, did you cause the injuries intentionally or otherwise?
Answered.
Sustained.
Did you accidentally cause the injuries that caused Olivia's death?
I don't know.
I'm sorry,
I don't know.
tell us what you mean by that.
I mean, as far as I know, none of the injuries she got from when I was holding her, when I had any accident with her caused any serious injuries.
Okay, but you know the catastrophic injuries that she had when you took her to the police station, right? Okay. Did you cause those injuries?
No,
Okay. And by the way, have you ever to this day told anybody that you thought it was the stairs, that she fell down the stairs?
no, I never even thought of that.
Who's the first person you heard it from?
From you, from my defense attorney.
Okay. Do you still not know what caused her death?
Yes, I'm still not sure. Some of the theories that I've heard seem like they might make sense, but I still don't. I still don't know.
I pass the witness, Judge.
State.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Ms. BRIONES. How was it that you knew exactly where Olivia's fatal blow was?
That I did not know.
And you didn't?
No.
Because when you spoke to the detectives and you heard Mr. Anderson testify, that falling off the chair couldn't have caused Olivia's injuries. You heard the other witnesses testify where that impact was, and you were able to point it out. You said she hit her head right here. And when I was putting her to bed the night before, I bumped that exact spot.
That was on Friday night, but Unless that was the injury that caused her death, I don't think that was the one.
But you just happen to know exactly where that was.
Because she had a bump that swelled up right there after.
And as defense just mentioned, he's the first person that said anything about the stairs.
Yes, that's correct.
Your neighbors didn't say anything about the stairs. Joni Faircloth didn't hear anyone report anything about a child being on the stairs. There's no blood on the stairs. No one
Objection,
found-
Judge. There's no evidence that there's no blood on the stairs. In fact, the testimony was that
there
nobody
has to be
checked.
evidence.
Everyone, please remain seated because that's where the microphones are and it's easier to hear you and easier for the court reporter to hear you. The objection will be overruled. State, ask your question.
You recall Sergeant Barnes testifying that multiple officers were out at the scene, that it's on their body camera, that there was nothing on the stairs.
I
Do you recall hearing that?
don't recall that part exactly, no.
I'm showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 180 and 181. Can you tell me what that is?
It looks to be the contents of the bag that I had when I took Olivia.
Okay, and those are Olivia's clothes she had on that day.
Yes.
And as you can see, there's no tears on those jeans. There's no dirt on those clothes. There's no indication she had any sort of fall. Is that correct?
Yes, I don't believe she was wearing the pants.
Your Honor, to offer State Exhibit 180 and 181 into evidence. And when you took her in, you didn't mention.
Just one moment. Any objection?
No objection, Judge.
All right, State's Exhibit 180 and 181 is admitted without objection. State.
That's her shirt. That's her shirt. Those are her pants. And you didn't mention anything about there being any dirt or any fresh abrasions on her, anything like that?
I didn't notice any, but they did mention some to me when she was at the hospital, or one of the officers did, I believe.
But really, there's been absolutely no evidence that she fell down those stairs.
The only thing I noticed that was not there the night before were the bruises on her nose, on her foot, and on her side.
Okay, but as we've heard, you testified that routinely you would either bump her head or bump her foot while going into her bedroom every single night on the door frame,
Not every single night, but
multiple times a week.
when we would walk into the bedroom, sometimes, yes.
And you didn't change that behavior.
I was usually tired at the time, so I wasn't, again, fully aware of.
And you said she would say ow, but you kept doing it over and over and over again.
It wasn't a painful reaction. It's the way she would
What
say.
does ow mean to you, Ms. Briones?
It means that something bumped her, or she would say it in a playful way that meant,
Why do people say ow?
if something hurts, I guess.
And as you stated, we've heard, the spot that you say that she fell from the chair, which we already know couldn't have killed her, you didn't bother to protect her from hitting it again the night before. Is that correct?
I wasn't really paying attention, but it wasn't that exact spot. I believe it was near the spot, but
Okay. But when the detectives are talking to you, you don't seem too surprised about the arm or the head. It's that deflated lung that you can't explain.
well, the arm I had noticed was swollen before, and I know that she had a bump on her head, but the lung,
When you say swollen, did you hear the other witnesses testify that that arm was deformed?
I did, but
Did you hear George Gonzalez testify that that left arm was deformed?
I don't recall which witness he was.
Do you recall Dr. Gebhardt saying that he could feel the lumps in both of her arms?
Yes, I think so.
But you just noticed it before, that's it. And the only injury that you seem to be that surprised about, the one you keep bringing up over and over again in the interviews, is the lung.
Well, because there was no plausible explanation for that I could think of. She had fallen and bumped her head. I knew that that was possible. She could have had a concussion maybe, or
But so you thought at that point in time, well, there's plausible explanations for the other injuries. There's plausible explanations for her fatal head injury.
I didn't know it was fatal at that time.
Okay. Yeah, she wakes up with this huge bruise on her nose. Not responsive, throwing up, and you tell Detective Juarez, I didn't think it was that bad. I just thought she was throwing up. So that's why you clean her off, you undress her, you get a bag together, you're walking to the bus because you didn't think it was that bad. Your child looks like she'd been beaten up and you just didn't think it was that bad.
I thought it was serious enough to take her to the hospital or to urgent care, but the only new marks she had was that bruise on her nose and the one on her foot and the one on her side, and I didn't know what could have caused that, but she,
Did your child ever talk to you that morning? Did she ever respond to you at all?
no, she just,
And you didn't think it was that bad?
I thought she was tired, sleepy, feeling sick.
She'd been hit in the head so many times before. Isn't that right?
She bumped her head several times, but I mean, she was always fine before that.
The defense asked you a lot about what you told the doctors at the hospital. The doctors spoke to you separately from law enforcement. Do you remember that?
Not really, I don't.
Do you know why doctors might do that?
To try to get information to help
Why would they separate you from law enforcement?
in case maybe there's something that they feel is sensitive about her medical history. I'm not sure.
Do you think they think maybe you'll be more candid with them because it's for the care of
All
your
for
child?
speculation, Judge.
Sustained.
Okay. Well, we already heard, or do you remember Dr. Gebhardt testifying that you told him you heard your daughter vomiting at 10:30 and you didn't go check on her?
I do recall him saying that, but I know that's not the truth.
Okay. Well, I'm showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 182. Do you remember that scene right there? Who's that right there?
It appears to be me.
Okay. And do you recall that being the hospital? Do you remember being in that location?
No, it looks like a hospital though.
Okay. Do you recall talking to that doctor?
He doesn't look familiar. No.
You don't recall it, but you see yourself talking to that doctor right there.
Yes,
Okay. Do you recall him telling you his name was Dr. Picorni?
no, I don't remember that name at all.
Okay. Well, do you remember telling a doctor before you ever talked to Dr. Gebhardt that at 10:30 you heard your daughter vomiting and you didn't check on her?
No, I don't remember saying that at all because I did check on her and the vomit in the bowl is evidence of that.
The vomit in the bowl is evidence that you did check on her?
Yes, because I went to grab the bowl as soon as I heard her throwing up, and so some of the vomit, most of it she threw up in.
Okay, so not only were you cleaning her up and getting a bag together while she's unconscious, has this huge bruise on her nose, you're also getting a bowl to collect the vomit that morning.
Yes, I ran to the kitchen to get the bowl as soon as she was throwing up because I didn't want her to make a mess on herself in the bed.
And defense asked about and that morning before you guys left, you paid your rent to Joni Fairclough. Is that correct?
Yes, I believe I did.
Right. And do you recall Joni telling Detective Barnes that it was weird because you always had your daughter with you?
When she testified, you mean?
Or when she spoke with Detective Barnes, yes.
I think I remember her saying that during her testimony, yes.
Now, defense asked you about the contents of your phone. You listened to the hospital interview earlier. Do you remember that?
The audio recording?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay. And do you recall telling those detectives you went to bed right after Olivia, you're a heavy sleeper?
yes, I do.
But are you aware your phone shows you playing on your phone at 2:04 and 3:23 in the morning?
I don't recall waking up at that time, and the phone was out of service, so I wouldn't have been able to play any of the games that were on there.
Okay, so your phone shows you at those exact times playing a game at 2:04 and still being on your phone at 3:23. Are you saying your phone is lying?
I'm not sure. I think I mentioned in one of the interviews that I had stayed up that late the night before, so I'm not sure if it was.
No, okay.
While that's loading, do you recall looking at this article on your phone a couple different times in August? Showing you State's Exhibit 183. Do you remember that article?
No, I don't. It was a long time ago.
You don't? That's okay, we can pull it up. And you heard defense or you previously asked about your attempt, which you were hospitalized for. Do you recall that?
Yes, I do.
Do you recall telling someone at that facility, things got worse with me when police got involved. It made it more bizarre and I knew I would be the suspect because I'm ultimately responsible for her.
I don't recall saying that.
Now defense asked about your neighbor Judy, that you would take Olivia to go visit.
Yes,
Do you know who your downstairs neighbors are? Or who they were?
when we were in the 2-bedroom or the 1-bedroom.
The apartment that you were in when Olivia died, 2017, September 5th, 2017.
I had seen them a few times, but they mostly kept to themselves.
Okay, and you recall Karen testifying that she would hear bangs followed by crying.
Yes, I remember them saying that.
And you recall Nathan saying that they heard noises that scared them.
I think he was referring to the pounding sounds.
That he heard a lot of crying coming from your apartment.
Yes, I remember him saying that.
And you recall them saying they considered calling CPS.
Yes, I think they mentioned the daughter might have considered that.
Were you aware that your neighbor to the side, Saeed Amana, also said he heard excessive crying coming from your apartment?
No, but that doesn't surprise me because I would,
Objection, Judge. I think that's hearsay. Again, I don't think that's in evidence.
All right, that's all rule the witness has answered.
I would put her in the bathroom for a timeout when she was already upset. And that's usually when she would have her longer meltdowns.
You'd put her in the bathroom at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning and she'd have her meltdowns?
If she was frustrated at that time, yes.
And if she tried to get out or didn't want to go in, you would close her arm in the door.
Not intentionally, no.
Okay. But you also testified in one of your interviews that sometimes you would have to drag her into timeout. Do you recall that?
There was one time where she grabbed onto my leg because she didn't want me to leave the bathroom. She didn't want me to leave her alone.
But that's not what you said in your interview. You said you would have to drag her to timeout.
That was that one incident when she was holding on to my leg. She didn't want me to leave her in there alone.
And we heard a lot in your interviews about how much you dislike Corey. Do you recall hearing that?
Yes, I did. I spoke a lot about him.
And do you recall you and Denise having a conversation where you said, "You're so lucky Bella doesn't look like you, so you don't have to see his effing face every day"?
I don't recall using any profanities. I never swear.
Okay, so if she told Sergeant Barnes something different, you're saying that she would be lying.
Well, I mean, I don't recall using profanities. I don't.
But you don't swear, you don't lay a hand on your daughter, you don't do any of that stuff, right?
No. But I may have made a mention to that because we both had a dislike for him at the time and I was trying to commiserate with her.
But all the time you've had Olivia, he never bothered you. Is that correct?
No, once or twice he tried to reach out.
Okay. And as a matter of fact, his family offered to come see her, offered to bring by gifts. Is that correct?
I recall the mother, Corey's mother asking once to take Olivia for a week to their hometown, Gatesville, but I didn't really want her to be by herself for a week and I would prefer not to have gone out there. Plus, they didn't invite me to come along as well, but I would have preferred to have been with her if anything.
But you never let them see her.
They never came by. They were never in town, as far as I knew, to be able to see her.
No one else ever watched Olivia?
I had a neighbor once or twice watch her when I was trying to go look for work.
You never put her in daycare?
I considered it for a while, but as I mentioned, I didn't want her to end up getting sick because Tara's little girl was always getting sick from.
You didn't want her to get sick in daycare, but yet she's covered head to toe in injuries by the time you take her to the police station. Old injuries, new injuries, scars all over her hands, scars all over her feet.
Objection, Judge. Argumentative.
Sustained.
You didn't want anyone else to know what you were doing with that little girl. Isn't that correct?
No, not at all. I let other people see her and be around her regularly.
Okay. I'm showing you your cell phone extraction. Can you see that?
Yes, I see a chart.
Okay, do you see where it says September 5th, 2017 at 2:04 a.m.? And it says brain games and logic puzzles. Do you see that?
Yes, I do.
You told detectives that you'd looked up head injuries a number of times. Do you recall that?
I believe it was just the one reference from the book that my mom had brought me, but I probably checked it a few times until I had already learned everything that was in there.
And you recall Dr. Five testifying about Olivia's scalp and how thick her membrane is, that he'd never seen anything that thick, not even in an adult.
Yes, I remember that.
Basically, her scalp is just one big scar from all the trauma that she's had. Do you recall hearing that?
I don't recall him saying that exactly, but that she had a thick membrane and tissue inside her skull.
And when defense asked you, you said that there's been a lot to do with this laptop that was introduced. And you said that Olivia had to get stitches because you dropped the laptop on her forehead.
Yes, that was the first time that I took her to get stitches.
Okay. But the medical records from that time you're talking about, April 2016, say that you told doctors, one, you dropped a plastic plate on her head, and that two, she fell on a plastic cup. Do you recall that?
Yes, I do.
That nowhere in the medical records does it say anything about a laptop.
I did mention it on that visit, but I think I also mentioned the plate because I was relating that it was a similar incident. And as can be seen in my interview videos, I tend to reference a lot of other typical incidents that happen sometimes. And the doctor may have misunderstood that that was the incident that happened, but
it doesn't say anything about a laptop in there.
I'm not sure exactly. I don't remember how I said it exactly, but I know I mentioned,
Do you recall Dr. Gebhardt talking about the importance of taking a history
yes, I do.
and why it's important for doctors to get an accurate history?
Yes, I
But you're
do.
saying one of them must have made a mistake, but nobody mentioned anything about the laptop.
I don't think you made a mistake. I may have not said it clearly enough. I know I was very anxious at the time because it was her first time getting stitches.
And you saw within those records from April 2016 that someone suspected abuse was going on based on her injuries and all the bruises she had?
Yes, I think I remember the first doctor, when I took her to University Hospital, had taken off all her clothes, and he wasn't even looking at the wound on her head. He was just letting it ooze, and she had a very faint bruise on her arm, and he asked me how she got that, and I said I wasn't sure. I couldn't remember. It might have been from the bus. It might have been from when we were walking somewhere, but
But that's not what the records say. I mean, we can pull them out. The records say she had a number of bruises on her body. Do you recall seeing that?
no, but that was the only one that he asked me about.
And linear scars on her body.
I'm not sure if they meant the scratches on her hands from the cat,
Do you know what linear scars mean?
just a straight line.
Straight line, yeah.
Yeah,
Kind of like the one she has on her head.
yeah, and the way the cats would scratch her.
So don't you think someone who's at that point in time suspecting you of abuse would think it's important to document if you said there was a laptop involved as well?
I didn't think anything of it at the time, and I didn't realize they had gotten the wrong information.
We were able to pull up on the phone. So September 5th, 2017, at 3:23 a.m. Shows that you're still on your phone. But you still don't recall being up at those times?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Judge, I have to object to this. This witness isn't an expert on cell phone extractions, and I'm sorry, you're sitting. And I don't think that the prosecution is reading this right.
Judge, he's the one that wanted to stipulate.
Objection is overruled.
Ms. Briones, you only live with Olivia, correct?
Yes,
Right. That article I was asking you about that you looked up a couple times in August, it was entitled The Happiness of Living Alone in 10+ Illustrations. Do you remember that?
no,
Well, you looked it up a couple different times. You don't remember?
no, it was years ago.
Okay.
I'm not sure what it was about either.
Now, aside from the laptop, how old was Olivia when her teeth were knocked out?
Well, she chipped her teeth on the bathtub just before her second birthday. And as I mentioned before, they didn't actually fall out until a few months after that, the first one, and then the second one, maybe a month and a half or so later.
Right, and her teeth were chipped because you pushed her in the bathroom and she fell down. Is that correct?
Yes, I was trying to get her, urging her to get into the potty as soon as possible.
And I mean, do you know about what age kids' teeth usually fall out?
I'm not sure, maybe 6 or 7.
Okay. Do you know how well a 2-year-old's teeth are rooted in there?
Not really, no.
You recall seeing the interview. Do you recall telling Detective Juarez that she was playing and fell forward and hit her mouth on a toy? And that was the first tooth that fell out.
Yes,
And do you recall telling him about a month after that, she was playing again and she bumped into a wall, and that was the second tooth that fell out?
yes, that was when it fell out.
And then do you recall telling Sergeant Barnes that she was rocking back and forth on a skateboard, sat back, and came up, hit her in the face, and that's how the first tooth fell out?
Yes, that was the toy that I was referring to the first time.
Oh, that was the toy. Okay. And then you told her that she was playing and struck her mouth on a chair leg, and that's how the second tooth fell out. Do you recall saying that?
No, I said that's when the second tooth was knocked loose. It didn't actually fall out immediately, but that's when I called the doctor. It just kind of twisted, so I called the dentist to confer with them again, and I hadn't understood when I took her before what they said, that she had chipped the root of her teeth. And that's when they explained it to me, that both teeth were going to fall out and that they expected it, so it was fine.
Well, the jury has your interview for your statement.
And then a month later was when or I'm not sure how much after that, but it was shortly after that that she ran into the wall and it actually fell out.
Now, defense asked you about the bracket. And you heard Dr. Norat and Dr. Feig and Barnes say that the bracket was consistent with the scars on the top of your head. Is that correct?
Objection, Judge. Dr. Feig testified that that the bracket, he couldn't make the bracket fit.
Judge,
with
when he
that.
tried to match it to photographs in here, he said he couldn't.
All right, that'll be overruled. You can ask the question.
And you recall Dr. Anderson, when he was asked about the bracket, he said, oh, he didn't think it caused a fatal injury, but he referenced the scars on the top of Olivia's head. Do you recall hearing that? He said, I don't know about the scars on the top of her head.
I'm not sure, but he may have said that.
Now, you mentioned when defense was asking you how proud you were of Olivia and how you like to take her out so she could meet people.
Yes, I did.
So why is it at her funeral, none of your relatives knew who she was? You heard Denise testify to that.
My mom was not close with her siblings, so I hadn't spoken with my uncles or aunts in a long time. But my own friends and neighbors, yes, those were the people that would see her more often.
You heard your mom testify today that after Olivia's death, her sister gave her cell phone. Do you recall that?
She bought a cell phone for her to use, yes.
And you said Olivia never frustrated you. Do you recall saying that?
Yes, I think so.
Do you also recall saying in your interview that when she was a baby, less than 2 years old, you would yell at her until you were hoarse?
Yes, I was trying to talk over her crying when I was trying to ask her to do something, but I wasn't actually yelling. I was just trying to speak.
Okay.
over.
But if on your interview, it said you were yelling at her until you were hoarse, are you saying that would be incorrect?
Well, I guess speaking loud was yelling, but I was just asking her what I had been asking her in the beginning, just louder.
Do you recall in the interview, Detective Juarez asking you about if Olivia wore anything on her head?
Yes,
And you mentioned headbands. Do you recall that?
yes,
And do you recall he asked you about barrettes?
yes.
Okay, and then, but at that time, you didn't say anything to him about barrettes causing injuries on Olivia. Is that correct?
No, because I didn't know that's what he was referencing.
But you do recall in your interview with Detective Barnes saying that Olivia would get scars or scrapes on her head because she wore these barrettes.
Yes, well, after I spoke with the other detective, I figured that's why he had asked about them. So, I mean, they didn't ask about any injuries from them before, but
What kind of barrettes are you talking about?
there were little Sesame Street. There was a Cookie Monster, I think, and Elmo and Big Bird.
Are you talking about the ones that snap? What kind of barrettes? Are you talking about the ones that slide?
They're like little metal clips that snap shut.
Okay. Like these? 184. Okay, I'm showing you what I'm marking as states exhibit 184 for demonstrative purposes. Is this what you're talking about? These little barrettes like this?
Yes, it looks similar, but they were a little bit thicker.
Okay, and you're saying that these caused the scars on Olivia's head?
I don't know if those left any scars, but I know sometimes when she would fall, they would scratch her scalp.
Okay, so now you're not trying to say that these are responsible for the scars on the top of her head?
When I don't know if those left scars, I just know it did irritate her scalp.
But at any rate, little kids wear barrettes like these all the time, right?
I didn't leave those on her after that because it did seem like it, like I said, it made her scalp sensitive.
Did you wear barrettes like this when you were a little girl?
No, I didn't.
But you've seen these around for a long time, right?
Yes, I have.
Don't you think they would have been taken off the market by now if,
Calls for speculation, Judge.
All right, you can ask your question, then the court will make its ruling once I hear the question.
don't you think they would have been taken off the market by now if these were causing scars on little kids' heads?
All right, the defense's objection will be sustained.
And you said earlier that some of the injuries to Olivia's head were caused from, well, you watched the interview and you testified about it, dropping dishes on Olivia's head.
It was the one plate that I had dropped on her, and I stopped letting her stay in the kitchen with me after that because I didn't want anything else to fall on her.
So when did this plate incident happen?
It would have been when we were in the one-bedroom apartment. I think it was, I don't remember, it was shortly before the laptop.
Okay. And you've heard your interviews and seen the medical records. You said this happened because a plastic plate fell on her head.
I dropped it on her when I turned to, I was gonna let her try to wipe the plate. She was helping me out in the kitchen, but when I let go of the rag so she could wipe it, I dropped it on her.
Do you recall seeing your last interview with Sergeant Barnes? When you said you never dropped heavy things on top of her head, just sharp things?
Well, I meant something with an edge, like the banana that I dropped on her didn't have an edge, it was soft.
So a plate, and most plates are circular, would you agree with me?
Yes, but it did have an edge.
And then you go on to tell her a spoon and a plastic cup. Do you recall that?
Yes, I do. But it was a metal spoon, not a plastic one.
But most spoons don't have sharp edges. Would you agree with me?
No, but I mean, that one, I don't think that one actually did lacerate her at all. It's just one of the other things that I did drop on her at one point.
And you also recall stating to detectives that when you did elite Olivia for a few minutes at a time, she wouldn't move from where you left her. Do you recall that?
Yes, I do. Usually she wouldn't.
And when you left her to go to the Valero, she was in her bedroom in bed.
Yes, she was.
And when you came back from the Valero, she was in her bedroom in bed.
Yes, she was laying down.
You also stated that when you dropped, and I'm not sure if it's a laptop, I'm not sure if it's a plate, but whatever on her head and she had to get stitches, that you didn't take her until the next day.
That's correct. I didn't, there were no buses and I didn't know if I should try to call an ambulance if it was that serious of an issue or if I could try walking. I would have walked with her to the hospital if I had known that she wouldn't have started bleeding again, but it was so much blood at that point that I was actually scared she could have bled out.
And you saw the medical records say where the wound was gaping.
I don't remember that, but I know it was an open wound.
Now you talked a lot in your interviews about Joe Garcia. And you talked a lot about Joe in your text messages or your Facebook messages with Tara. But Joe never stayed the night, right?
Not the whole night, no.
And he was never alone with Olivia.
No, not that I recall, unless I was in the restroom, but no.
And you guys have been involved off and on. Is that correct?
We were, yes.
But you guys quit talking or hooking up or whatever about a month before Olivia passed away. Is that correct?
Yes, and that was my choice because the last time he had come by to watch a movie with us, he had his laptop with him so that he could do some homework. He was still going to UTSA at the time, I believe, and he would be playful with Olivia sometimes, and I kind of appreciated
Judge,
that.
I'm just gonna object to narrative.
That'll be overruled. You can answer the question.
And we were watching a movie and she made a comment to him. And she asked him about something. She said, "That was funny, wasn't it, Joe?" And he wasn't paying attention. I mean, he wasn't ignoring her intentionally, but the look on her face, she looked so disappointed and just sad and dejected that I felt like I shouldn't be inviting somebody into her life that's not there for her, and I should probably just be focused on her entirely.
Well, we heard your messages to Tara that you stayed in San Antonio because you were hoping things would work out with him. Do you recall that?
That might have been part of the reason, yes.
So it must have been pretty upsetting to you when you guys stopped talking.
Not really, not at all. I had finally realized that I needed to be responsible and, try to not waste time on something that wasn't as important as she was.
Okay, well, that's not the way you described it to the detectives, right? I mean, you talked about how if you could put like this one moment of happiness all in one person, that was Joe. Do you recall hearing that?
Yes, because at the time I met him, that was the way that I felt.
And just regarding your phone extraction, jury has it. There's videos of Olivia spinning around. You heard Denise's testimony. She wasn't a clumsy girl. Is that correct?
Not really. She had days where she would be fine, able to walk around, and then other days where she was just a little bit more careless, and I'm not sure why.
Now you heard Dr. Norat talk about 3 red flags that a caregiver can give when giving a history about child's injury. Changing history that doesn't match the injuries, or no explanation. We've got all 3 of those with you, don't we?
Not really. A lot of the incidents that were cited as changed histories were either more details that I added later when I was asked, or something that was either misheard or misunderstood.
And then again, when Olivia passed away, history that doesn't match the injuries or no explanation.
Is that a question, Judge?
State, is that a question mark at the end of your statement?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, you can answer the question.
Is she asking if I remember that?
I don't think it was a question, Judge.
They put a question mark at the end of it. What's the question state?
It said, when Olivia had her fatal injuries, we had history that didn't match the injuries, as well as no explanation for what happened to her. Isn't that correct?
Some of the history was written down incorrectly, yes.
So again, you're saying someone else got it wrong.
Yes, because I remember everything that happened that I did say, that I did mention.
And you testified today that you actually checked on Olivia a couple times that morning before she passed away.
Yes,
And did you not notice the giant bruise on her nose?
not from the doorway when she was lying down. I only saw her profile, the side of her face.
I'll pass the witness.
Defense?
Just, thank you, Your Honor. Just a couple questions, Ms. Briones. You're not an expert on cell phone extractions, right?
No,
Okay, but this shows apparently, hang on one second. I'm sorry.
97?
Yeah, thank you. Number 37 there on your screen, item number 37, is smart brain games and logic puzzles. And it says that was modified on 9/5/2017, right?
yes, it looks like it says that.
Okay. Again, are you a software expert?
No,
Okay. Does that say that you were playing the game on 9/5/2017?
no, not specifically.
Okay, could that be, in your opinion, could that be because the game was updated
Subject to
automatically?
Speculation.
All right, that will be sustained.
Judge, the state was the one who decided that she could answer questions about what these cell phone extractions meant.
All right, that objection will be sustained.
Okay. Okay, what else could that mean? That the
Again, object to speculation.
Ask your question and the court will
What
hear it,
else
and then the
could it-
court will make a ruling.
okay, what else could that mean? Where it says modified 9/6/2017 and then has a time besides that you were playing that game, and don't answer yet.
All right, the state's objection will be sustained.
Were you playing again? I mean, I'm not sure why it matters, but were you playing a game at 2:00 that morning or at 4:51 that morning?
No, I was asleep the whole night and the phone wasn't in service, so I couldn't really use it for games or browsing or anything at that time. I didn't have Wi-Fi. It didn't have any data service.
Okay, you had no data service to that phone?
No, not at the time. It had been out of service for a few days.
Okay, do you know if phones, when you have no data service, do you know if they will continue to update the like games and apps on your phone?
I'm not sure, but I mean, that one was set for auto updates.
Okay, but you don't know whether that's something that could happen without data service.
No, I'm not sure what the apps do in the background.
Okay, and then I'm sorry, I said 4:51 AM. Were you playing a game at 2:04 a.m.?
No, I was asleep.
Did you play a game that night? Any games that night?
I don't believe so.
Okay. And again, even if you had been playing a game, did you have any reason to believe at that point at 2 o'clock in the morning on September 5th of 2017 that there was anything wrong with Olivia? You mentioned that one night you did not take Olivia when she was hurt, when she had a cut on her head, I guess. You did not take her to the hospital right away, and you said that was because the buses had stopped running.
Yes, it was after 10 o'clock and there were no more buses running at that time.
Okay, and do you know what an ambulance costs?
No, but I assume it's expensive.
Okay, and you mentioned that you didn't want to get late fees on your rent. That late fee is only $5, right?
Object to leading your own witness.
Oh, that'll be overruled.
I don't recall, but I believe the manager testified to that, yes.
Okay. Was $5 a lot of money to you then?
Yes, there were things that I needed to replace that I was putting off on because they cost about $5 and I'd rather have spent that on food when we could.
Is $5 a lot of money to you today?
Somewhat.
Irrelevant.
All right, that'll be sustained.
And you said you don't know what an ambulance costs or what it cost back then, but would you imagine it's more than $5?
Definitely, yes.
Okay. Did Detective Barnes, this plate, you said plastic, was that in fact a melamine plate?
Yes, melamine is a type of plastic. It's just a little bit thicker and heavier. Gets very hot in the microwave.
Okay. And did Detective Barnes tell you, or did anyone else tell you that you were responsible for gathering evidence to find out how Olivia died?
She didn't say that directly. I don't believe so.
Okay, so when the state asked you about whether there was any evidence that Olivia had fallen down the stairs, whose responsibility is it to gather evidence?
I'm assuming the investigators.
Okay. Now, back to the video game for a second. Would you have any reason to lie about whether you were playing a game that night?
No, not at all.
Okay. The state read a quote that you said that you felt you were ultimately responsible. Do you recall that?
It sounds like something I would have said, yes.
Do you still feel ultimately responsible?
Yes. She was in my care.
She was what?
She was in my care and I was supposed to take care of her and feed her and help her grow up and be smart and strong and healthy.
Let me ask you. You said that you went to the store, to the Bolero, that morning and left Olivia there. And I have posited to you that that may have been when
Objection,
she,
defense counsel testifying.
Gotta be sustained.
if that was when Olivia fell down the stairs, do you feel responsible? Do you feel that that's, you were responsible for
Speculation.
that?
That'll be sustained.
Okay. Well, let me just ask you, do you feel guilty about Olivia's death?
Yes. I have for the past 5 years, and that is just over and over what I did wrong, what I should have done differently, and picked apart every little thing. There's nothing I can do.
And do you think there were things you could have done differently?
Yes,
But did you intentionally cause her death?
no,
Did you knowingly cause her death?
no,
Did you intentionally chip her teeth, by the way?
of course not. She had a beautiful smile.
I'm sorry?
She had a beautiful smile. People used to always compliment her smile.
Did you intentionally push her so that she would fall into the tub?
No, of course not.
And you're not denying that you caused that, right?
No.
Okay. And then tell me again about the teeth falling out versus when they got, what was the whole sort of arc of that?
The first time was when I pushed her, she slipped and chipped her teeth in the bathtub just before her second birthday. And at the dentist appointment, they didn't notice anything and I didn't get a chance to bring it up. So
Did you take her for an emergency appointment or did you take her?
at that point, no, she was having her scheduled appointment, so I figured the dentist would be able to see it and say if there was anything. And if they were just chipped pieces, I figured there was nothing they could do, like they might maybe rub down the teeth so they wouldn't be sharp, but I didn't think they'd try to glue back the pieces on or anything, so. And I took her to the appointment, they didn't notice it. I didn't get to mention it. So I let her eat pizza and bite into apples for months, not aware of what had happened. Because when she had chipped the teeth, she was also bleeding from underneath the gums and I didn't know why that was. But when several months later, she was playing on the toy, which was the skateboard. I didn't let her stand on it because I didn't want her to fall, but she liked to sit on.
Just like a longboard? Was it a?
It was a kid's skateboard, a small plastic one, but she would slide back and forth on it. And when she leaned back a little bit too far, it came forward and hit her in the mouth. And the first tooth got knocked out. And that's when I called for an emergency appointment with the dentist and they accommodated right away and saw her. The dentist called in a pediatric specialist to do an x-ray on her teeth. And I guess, I don't know if they explained it to me then or I didn't understand it, but it was a few months after that when she fell and hit the leg of the chair, like her mouth hit the leg of the chair, and the second tooth, it got knocked loose. It kind of came out twisted or it was still in her mouth. And I called again for an emergency appointment and the dentist, I don't remember if I was called in for an appointment or if they just told me over the phone, but that's when they explained what had happened, that the roots had been chipped on her teeth and they had expected the teeth to fall out, that it was going to happen. It was inevitable. And so then shortly after that was when she bumped into the wall and the tooth actually fell out, but it stayed in her mouth for couple of days at least, just crooked like that. I didn't want to just pull it out or force it out.
Okay. And do you have, what did, after the autopsy, did the, state release Olivia's body to you?
Object to relevance.
That'll be sustained.
Is Olivia, buried?
Object to relevance.
Sustained,
Is Olivia cremated?
Again,
Yes.
object to relevance.
sustained.
Did you make the decision what to do with Olivia's body?
I did.
And why did you make the decision that you made?
Object to relevance.
Sustained,
Judge, can we approach?
yes.
Pass.
Just have a few more questions. Defense asked about your cell phone being out of service, but do you recall telling the detectives that you were low on minutes and you couldn't find your phone the next morning?
Yes, that was one of the other phones that I have that I didn't regularly use and hadn't used in a while.
And phones don't usually update without Wi-Fi, do they?
I'm not sure.
And do you recall telling Detective Juarez that you were up around 2 or 3 a.m. on Sunday night?
I don't recall telling him, but I think I saw it in the interview.
Defense asked you about the cost of an ambulance. But Olivia had Medicaid, didn't she?
She did.
And you just testified that when you saw the wound that she had in April 2016, you didn't take her in the night before, but the next morning you thought she was going to bleed out. Isn't that correct?
Know that if I had taken her walking, if I had tried to move her too quickly, I was afraid that she might start to bleed out again.
And defense asked you a lot about, whether you intentionally did these things. But you've said in your interviews that you several times a week would hit Olivia's head on the door frame. You recall that?
If you mean walking back to the bedroom?
And you also testified that you dropped a number of things on her head.
Over the course of the years, yes, I sometimes would drop things.
Okay, well, wouldn't you agree with me that when you repeat the same activity over and over again, it's no longer an accident, it becomes intentional?
It was never the same objects, and it was for that reason that I kept her out of the kitchen, because as much as I loved having her there, I didn't want her to get injured again.
And again, this is while you're washing dishes, and we've seen the pictures of your kitchen, right?
Yes.
You just couldn't help but drop dishes on her head while you're washing them.
Objection, argumentative, Judge.
Sustained,
And defense asked you about whose job it is to collect evidence. Do you recall that?
Yes.
And you sat through several of the detectives involved through their testimony. Actually, you've sat through everyone's testimony. And you recall Sergeant Barnes talking about all the neighbors she talked to and all the apartments nearby she went to. Do you remember that?
Yes,
And you recall her talking about how she canvassed the area, all the businesses she went to, and all the video cameras she pulled. And do you recall her talking about talking to your family, talking to your mom,
yes, I do.
talking to your friends,
Yes,
the evidence that was collected?
the random things from the apartment.
Yeah, the evidence, all the photographs, you recall sitting here through all that. Is that
Yes.
correct? Okay. There's no evidence of a stairway fall because stairway fall, the evidence doesn't exist. Isn't that correct?
I'm not sure what kind of evidence that would be.
Ask the witness.
Do you know if Medicaid would pay for an ambulance?
If there's a sufficient cause for it, yes.
Okay, and, well, right, if you get a cold, you can't call an ambulance, right? For Medicaid and expect that Medicaid to pay for it, right?
I'm pretty sure, yes.
Okay. And did you think that that wound was that serious?
I wasn't really sure. I mean, it looked like a lot of blood, but it was a small laceration, so I wasn't sure what the Medicaid would consider it, or an ambulance, if they would consider it an emergency for ambulance worthy.
Okay. Pass witness.
No further questions.
All right, you may step down. Yes, I see the break sign. Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, please make sure to have your badges displayed. They're still, even though we're close to 5, I believe there's still people at the courthouse. If you see anything or hear anything or hear people talking about this case, ignore it. Don't hang around. Everything you need to know will be from inside this courtroom, so no research. And I'll let you know when it's time to deliberate, so no deliberation in your head or with each other. Everyone, if we can be back at 5:15. All right, everyone, please rise.